So right now, the best spots, to be honest, there are chests that spawn around the map that are like wasteland kind of chests that are buried underground. So to get those chests off the rip is really important because you can get like a gold spaz, gold scar, things like that, and it makes fighting off the start pretty easy. So lately I've been going Dirty Docks a lot, and also on the back side of the map of Dirty Docks too.
What are you thinking about
Okay,
Prince Arthur's Landing so far?
Pretty good, pretty good. If he can secure the top of that main building, that's really good. Because he can get the loot up the top, and there's also a wasteland chest in the building across from that main building too, that he can secure and possibly get a gold weapon off the start. Nice, he landed on top of main. That's really good. So right now he's gonna want to try to, get his shields up, farm materials, be prepared to, just in case someone decides that they're gonna push. It's really, really key to, do what he's doing now, where you're farming up mats off the start, because for some reason in Fortnite, in the competitive scene, people just really like to push and take fights, play risky, get as many kills as they can, because a lot of the times in a lot of these competitive structures, kills kind of outweigh placement in a lot of them, so you're going to want as many kills as you possibly can get, which I'm not sure how this bracket is set up, so
I'm not quite sure, but I know from our past few games, Max is more of getting materials early and hopefully getting a better angle before attacking, if I remember. So I don't think he's as aggro as the tournaments that you're in. Or maybe sorry, I'm just going off.
It's a-okay, it's a-okay. So what he's doing here is great, farming materials. Keeping track of zone is also very important because you want the best placement you can find in zone, because that is really what is going to set you apart from everybody else, is getting those good zones, so that people have to rotate into you and you get to play a lot more safe. Luckily, he's landed uncontested, so he doesn't have, to worry about too much. He can take his time, loot up, get his heals up, possibly upgrade his shotgun, things like that. Farming, crafting materials isn't too bad to upgrade his shotgun. It does take a little bit, RNG based. You're not guaranteed to get parts from every car you hit. So some people may be able to hit one car and get enough parts to upgrade, or you're going to hit 8 cars and finally get an upgrade, so.
And what do you think of his loadout so far?
His loadout's decent. He's definitely going to want to upgrade that makeshift shotgun, because if you get an engagement and the opponent has either a normal pump shotgun or a primal shotgun, it's a little difficult, because the fire rate and the amount of shells you have in the makeshift is not the best. But you can make it work. But he's definitely going to want to upgrade that shotgun as soon as he can. Oh, and speak of the devil, there's a green pump. That is much better than a normal makeshift. Getting gold, what he's doing right now, is also very good too, because there are NPCs that are scattered around the map that you can talk to, and they guarantee you drop something. They can drop, bandages, they can drop you materials, they can drop you weapons. It just depends. It's all RNG random. But some of them upgrade, and you can use that gold to upgrade your weapons to higher rarities, which also really helps in the long run. Because if you take on a fight and you got a purple smash shotgun and a scar, it makes the fight a lot smoother for you on your end.
And what do you think he should do once he gets into the zone? Should he play more on the outside of the circle, or should he just try to get a better position going into the circle?
To be honest, he probably should try to, his mats are still not maxed out. He's going to want to get cap mats first. But after he gets cap mats, the best, most ideal strategy would probably be to try to get center zone. Because most of the zones after this first one are going to shift towards the center until about, I want to say, I think it's like 4th or 5th zone is when it starts getting a little, you might have to move. So it's really good to set up in the middle, because then you're not going to have to move. You're not going to have to take any risks, possible engagements, third parties. You can avoid a lot of that by sitting in the middle. And right now he's farming metal, which is nice to get from the vehicles. But you also get gears, and these gears are what you use for crafting. As you can tell on the right side of the screen where you can see his materials, right above that, it shows you how many bones and how many gears he has. The bones are used for crafting primal weapons, which you can get from killing like the different animals in the map. So there's like boars, there's raptors, things like that, and you can get bones from them to craft the primal weapons.
Wow. And what do the primal weapons do?
So the primal weapons are just basically like they're basically normal guns, but their bloom is a lot worse. But there's some like upsides to using them. So like a primal AR, its bloom is going to be more spread, so your bullets are going to kind of not be as predictable. But if you connect with those bullets, man, that gun just shreds, just destroys.
So it's like a double-edged sword, right?
Yes, very much so. Very double-edged sword. Primal shotgun. Most people don't use it because Fortnite has really nerfed the primal shotgun. So people prefer to use the makeshift or the pump shotgun. Pump is meta. You definitely want a pump or a spaz. But with the primal shotgun, it's pretty good off the rip. If you can get a primal shotgun off the rip, your spawn fights, that thing destroys when no one has shields. Like you're gonna win most of your fights.
Oh. It looks like Prince Arthur might have not calculated for the storm, but he's starting to beat it out now. Oh, okay.
Yeah, he only took 3 ticks of damage, which is not that bad. And as you see, he is crafting, which, that's very good. He wants a normal AR. You do not want to be in a fight with somebody with a makeshift weapon. It is not ideal. Something that also has just changed recently, I believe it was either last week or the week before, they added in off-road tires that you can pick up and you can throw on vehicles. So like, for example, everyone calls that car he was just driving the Lambo. Well, what you can do is you can take those off-road tires, you can throw it on the Lambo, and you can go 60 off-road. So you can literally just fly across the map. There's no slowing you down. You're just flying, Very, very good for, mobility and rotating.
That's insane. And do you think he should keep the car on, or keep the car around for a while, or get him out of the game?
Yeah, cars are good. Lambo, not so much. So, like, as you can tell right now, the Lambo without the off-road tires is very, very slow off-road. So if there are any opponents watching while he's trying to rotate through the grass and things like that, he will get lasered by other opponents because it's just too slow. It makes you kind of like a sitting duck. But if you got those off-road tires, he can just fly around and not have to worry about nothing. And he just got them, see? Throw the off-road tires on, and now when he gets in that Lambo and he's driving across the map, he's going to be able to go full speed off-road.
They just turned that car from like
See the speed
tier
difference?
to A tier.
Yep, he's going 66, 64 on the grass. Checking for opponents, that's very good.
What does it rank on durability compared to like other vehicles in the game?
So a Lambo does not have much health. You can blow it up fairly quickly, but the speed makes up for that, because if you're bobbing and weaving through hills, oh, he's rolling up on an opponent right now. So his opponent right now in this fight, he has the stink bow, which you can pick up bows, and there's a blue rarity, and you can use frogs to craft it. Oh, he has the primal shotgun. His opponent has the auto shotty. He's doing very well right now by stopping the assault. Ooh. Unfortunately, that man had a primal shotgun. He actually did pretty okay in early game. You know, he did the normal thing that you're supposed to do. You know, loot up, try to get, you know, better guns, farm your materials. So his early game is fine. So it looks like he's landing by Caddy Corner, the weather station. Caddy Corner is also a pretty good spot because it's one of 3 spawn locations for one of the NPCs that upgrades your weapons. Also that, I don't know if you saw that or not, but the island, there's an island behind all of this right here, which is also a very good spot too, to get really good early game loot. But Caddy is fantastic for early game loot. Let's see what he can scavenge out of this area. They got a primal AR that's pretty good off the rip. Definitely wants to farm up those materials to be ready just in case, because it looks like when he was gliding in that there was about, say, 2 or 3 other people, not in his specific location, but landing in areas around his location. He crafted the pump shotgun, that's very good. So if he gets pushed, and it'll help his fight off the start. You do not want to have a makeshift weapon off the start. This area is very good because right now in the current meta, rotation is not the best. You do have the cars with the tires, but if you can't get that, there's no other like form of mobility really. And at Caddy, there's a lot of like vegetable containers, and you can get chili peppers from them. And when you eat the chili peppers, they make you run faster. So for in-game rotation, it's just insane to be able to run fast like that. You can get ahead of zone while it's shifting and moving. Fighting people, they're not expecting you to be moving that fast. It also helps in early game fights too.
And then, if correct me if I'm wrong, is the only way that you can get legendary guns is by upgrading them and crafting them? I'm not seeing them pop up that often in chests.
Okay, so I want to say it was 2 seasons ago. They reduced the spawn rates for legendary weapons out of normal chests. So you have normal chests, and then you have what we call god chests, which are blue. and they're golden and they make a different like audio cue than a normal chest, and the likelihood of getting a purple or gold weapon is extremely high in those chests. Like you're guaranteed a purple or gold weapon. So normal chests you can get lucky. Like you can get a spaz shotgun or a scar, but it's very, very unlikely. That is why a lot of people have been landing on those. They're called bunker chests. I spoke about this earlier, where they're kind of like are scattered throughout the map and they're buried. And when they spawn in the same locations every single time. They're not guaranteed spawn rates, but there'll be these little mounds of dirt in those locations that you can dig up, and it's this big, gigantic wasteland-looking chest, and you're guaranteed a purple or gold weapon out of it right off the start. So you know, if you're lucky and it spawns there, you can get like a gold spaz and just take people out left and right.
Wow. I was wondering, I didn't see anything like gold for like ever, so I'm like, is it something new? But yeah.
Yeah, it's a lot of work to get gold weapons now. It's not as easy as it used to be, where they were guaranteed in a lot of cases. Now you actually have to work for it. Which also helps with the game, because in a battle royale kind of setting, when someone just gets a gold weapon right off the start, it's really not fair. You know what I mean? Like someone that's trying to take a fight and they got a gray makeshift shotgun and someone's got a golden pump, it's hard to win those kind of fights. So it makes the game a little bit more balanced.
Absolutely.
So right behind him is an NPC. That NPC doesn't do much. It has a rift to go, but as you talk to him, see, he just dropped 100 brick. These NPCs can drop random items. So like you can go up to that NPC and he can give you a gold pump shotgun. You know, it's so random, and some people get really, really lucky with that. He's putting those big tires on the truck, which is really nice. Will help with the mobility and going across the grass. Looks like he's in top 20. That's good. And he's going towards circle early this time, which will help him a lot if he can get in that center zone and just hold center zone. Nice. He got a gold primal AR from that. That is very good.
Once you get something as good as that, what would be your move as soon as you get upper hand, like weapon-wise?
To be honest, with ARs, I would probably still be trying to get a purple or gold spaz, because a lot of these fights, ARs don't really play a big role in Fortnite. Like they help, you know, when you're fighting somebody, but a lot of it has to do with shotgun play. So if I was Prince, I would probably try to get a purple spaz, and then his loot would be really well. Go for center zone, hold out for as long as he can, take smart fights, and all it is positioning. If he can get a gold shotgun and he gets that good positioning the whole game, it's wraps. He could win it easy. So he just got a blue makeshift out of that crate. So the cool thing about that blue makeshift, right, is that now he has 3 mechanical parts in his inventory. If he gets 3 more, he can make that blue makeshift into a purple spaz, and his loadout will be kitted. He won't have to worry about his loadout at all. He did hear someone rift.
No.
Oh, there's a team fighting, I want to say like south of him. That's a good idea to rotate. He can get mechanical parts from these boats too. The best strategy for the boats, though, is that when you hit them with melee, they kind of fling around, like, as you can see, they just kind of bounce around. So the best strategy for this is have an SMG. Like, if you find an SMG, you can just farm the boats instantly. You just spray it. The mechanical parts, I don't know if there's an actual like backing or science behind it yet or not, but a lot of people say that the likelihood of parts dropping is depending on how many hits you get in on a vehicle or, you know, an object. So a lot of people will spray them with SMGs because an SMG bullet does half the damage of what a melee does. So when he hits these vehicles and these boats and things like that, it does 50 damage. An SMG does like 19, I believe.
So it does look like Prince Arthur took your advice and actually did upgrade his shotgun.
Yep. And now he's kitted. He just got to sit center zone. And he's literally got to worry about nothing. I wasn't able to see what his mats are at. If his mats are low, he's going to want to keep farming and try to get those up. Yeah, he's definitely going to want to try to get his brick up a little bit. Because if he gets pushed and someone has more materials than him, that could be a very bad situation for him. You know, because this is a very heavy mat-dependent kind of game. When you're playing competitive, it's very difficult having low mats. And if no one knows what I mean when I say mats, it's materials. It's just the abbreviation that a lot of Fortnite players use. And he does have a harpoon, which he could use for those fishing holes. But another thing that harpoons are very good for is when you're in in-game and you're fighting, they have a thing called moving zones. So at a certain zone, I believe it's 6th zone or 5th zone, the zone starts to get smaller and it shifts. So you have to move with the zone in the direction that it's going. Well, in those situations, the fights get really intense. There's a lot of building. There's a lot of stuff going on. And say there's different layers in game. So you have, you know, there's low, there's mid ground, and there's high ground. So say you're on like mid ground to high ground, right? And you're trying to build in, and people are fighting, and there's a lot of chaos. You can use that harpoon if someone dies to steal their loot off their, you know, their dead bodies. So like, say someone kills somebody and he sees it, he can yank those mats so fast, and then he's good to go, and he can keep building into zone and taking on fights.
Do you think this is a good plan overall to hide in the bush, since he's already in the circle?
Yes and no, because the only reason why I would say no is that a lot of people know this kind of strategy, and a lot of people pre-fire bushes, so it's kind of risky to hide in a bush because someone may be running by and pre-fire the bush and double dink you in the head, and you're down 100 shield, and now the opponent's got an advantage. But at the same time, if they are not spraying the bush, it's actually really good because no one knows where you are, you know?
And then looking at the circle, how's the position for the next few circles? Or what do you expect from the surrounding areas?
It's pretty good. So if zone pulls towards him, he'll be in a pretty sweet spot. But I have a feeling it might pull away from him, so he might have to rotate. Which I'm not sure. We'll have to see. Because he's pretty close to edge, so yep, see, it pulled away from him. So now he's got to rotate to the next circle. And the thing about the next circle is when you're in the middle of it, it's going to shift one more time, and he'll still be in center, right? So if he gets center of this circle, sits in it, the next circle will be centered. The circle after that is when you get what we call half and half. And what the circle does is it shifts, and half of it's out in the zone, so that you have to like push into the smaller circle, and that's when the zones start moving. And that's when it's really difficult, and you want to be he's going to want to be in that half and half zone when that happens, because if not, it is very difficult because you get held by a lot of players when you try to rotate into it. He's got a player in that brick. You can tell that there's someone in that brick because when they place things or when they repair things, it'll show what the material is. So there was a lot of brick like just appearing there. So and he's got to be careful because that person in that box, what they can do is you can see there's a little piece of brick poking out the top of that cone, that pyramid up there. And usually what that means is that someone's sitting in that box, and what you can do is you can edit the cone, but hold the edit, and you can see through the cone, but people can't see you. Oh, he's taking on an engagement. This guy, he's in a box. That's good, that's good. He's extending out. Oh, unfortunately, that man had high ground on him and got the edit.
Can't wait to jump into this.
It looks like he's dropping into sweaty sands again. Like, that was the first drop location that he went to. First game. It's a pretty good overall spot. Because landing here, you can get max mats pretty quick. There is a bunker chest in the building, so as he's falling in, you can see that main tall building. To the left of that building, that small little house and that roof, there is a bunker chest. Oh, it looks like he may be contested. No, that guy's landing spire. So what he's gonna want to do is that if that guy sees him landing here, he's gonna need to loot up as quick as possible because that person may push for an early game rush to try to get an elim off the start. Something that's good about this spot too is that there's a dock, and at the dock there's a chance for you to get a harpoon, which is also good for in-game. But you can also get fishing rods, and you can fish, which there are several different types of fish in the game now. You got your slurp fish, which give you either 40 health or shield, just depending on what you're missing. So if you only have 40 HP, it's going to give you 40 HP. It's not going to give you shield. Then there's the flopper fish, which also gives you 40 health. It doesn't give you shield though. There's shield fish, which give you 50 shield. Then you have stink fish, which are like stink grenades, like gas grenades. They are very, very good towards in-game. I've noticed that a lot of professional players have been carrying them in their inventories because it's just so much pressure on a team. It makes them fight. They're taking 5 ticks of damage per second. It's very rough to have to fight in a gas grenade.
And then we see that Prince Arthur has a bounty on him. What's the best kind of defense if that threat gets closer?
So his best defense, so when you're getting pushed, he has a lot of wood right now, but if he sees that other player start to push him, he's gonna want to box up out of a harder material, because the harder material has more health, so it takes a lot more damage than a wood. So if you place a wood wall down, someone's gonna two-shot the wood, try to get inside your box. So the best defensive tactic for him would be to box up out of hard mats. That's also something about cars. They are very difficult to steer because of just the way they are. And also another thing that's scary about the cars is that it is very easy to shoot someone's tire out. And if you're in a Lambo and you're going max speed and they shoot that tire out, you're going to flip. And sometimes there is a bug that will fling you out of the Lambo and you will fly and die.
No.
So that's the
That's so
only
unfair.
downside about using a Lambo. You have to be very careful. If someone shoots at you, you jump out. There's no sitting in it trying to run away. I just jump. And in this situation, he dropped the makeshift shotgun. Well, he dropped the pump for the makeshift, which is better because as he's farming these RVs, they drop mechanical parts, and he can actually upgrade that green makeshift to a blue pump, whereas if he just kept the green one, he'd be stuck with the green one, because you cannot upgrade normal guns unless you go talk to an NPC that can upgrade that, and you have to use gold to do it. But with the makeshift, you can upgrade it with mechanical parts or bones to make the weapons you need.
How many more guns are like that? Or is it just the makeshift shotgun?
It's just the makeshift guns.
Oh man. Oh, okay.
Every other gun in the game that's not a makeshift, you have to go talk to an NPC that can upgrade it. So like in his case right now, he's got 188 gold. He's got a green mechanical shotgun. If he knew where all the NPCs were, for example, there is a house that is off the coast of Sweaty, and they call it John Wick's house because it's a John Wick NPC, and he upgrades. He could take that makeshift shotgun and upgrade it to a blue and get a purple spaz right off the rip if he were to push it towards that coast. It's also the Rocket League house. It's all Rocket League themed, and it's got a race car in it.
Gotta let Ralph know about it then.
Right? But he could do that because a lot of the thing that's you got to do with these makeshift guns, right? If you know where all the NPC spawn, and you can get upgrades pretty quickly, it only costs 50 gold to upgrade that green to a blue, and you have a spaz right off the rip. Because you start off with, like, I believe it's 60 gold or 50 gold right off the rip, so you can literally instantly get a purple spaz right off the rip at those locations, which I'm sure there's other players dropping at those locations. That's also another scary thing, is that when you go to upgrade, you have to be really careful because a lot of other players are going to be doing the same thing, because that's just the meta right now. So it's very risky play unless you land there and you win the off-spawn fight, because usually people will camp the NPCs to try to get kills and the drop on players.
Mm-hmm. Those are going to be the most dangerous spots when you first land and everything. Right?
Yes, those are going to be the hot drops. That's where the majority of the people are going to land, are places where they, with the bunker chests, that's a big one, and any upgrade NPC is going to be pretty hot for players. Also, another cool thing that Fortnite announced recently is that they're in the works of making a scrim game mode where you could do scrims against other players and things like that.
That's awesome. Really would help us out a lot once they implement that.
Yeah, because Arena is very difficult practice only because people don't play the game like you would play in a tournament setting like this. They play the complete polar opposite, and it's really hard to improve. But when you play in these scrim lobbies, it's everyone plays exactly how you would play in competitive, and it helps out a lot to understand what you need to do to get where you need to go.
I know we haven't seen the circle that much, but what do you think the next best move here would be?
Honestly, if he knew the John Wick NPC was there, and if he knew he could upgrade, that would probably be the best move, because you want to have a purple pump shotgun or a gold pump shotgun, because the majority of the people in these games are going to be doing everything in their power to get one also. So if you roll up on someone, you're probably going to be at a disadvantage because most players are going to have that. So I would say the best thing for him to do is to try to get a purple pump shotgun. Oh, and Circle just shrunk some more, so he's on edge zone. So he's got a lot of time. He could get his brick up a little bit more and then start rotating towards the zone to try to get center. So that way he doesn't have, like, the thing about having center, like I've said before, is that you don't have to rotate as much, which means you don't have to use as many materials, because that's the name of the game, you know? You gotta make sure that you have as close as you can to cap mats throughout the majority of the game, because once you get to those in-game scenarios and you're low on mats, it makes it very, very difficult to pull out of play. He is doing pretty well on shields right now too, which is also very good. He also still, right now, because he had a POI without anyone there, he could take that shotgun, the blue pump, and still upgrade it. I believe it's 145 gold to go from a blue to a purple weapon. And also, too, about that John Wick location is that he gives out bounties, so you can know where one player is at all times. And that NPC right there in front of him, he might challenge her. If you challenge, yep, he's gonna do it. So if you challenge this NPC, maybe he won't. If you challenge that NPC, she drops a purple scar. So all you gotta do is fight her, and you can get a purple scar right off the rip. That's also another good thing about Sweaty.
Does that look like one of the animals needed for like the primal, right?
Yeah, so that was a boar, and you can kill a boar, and the boar drops bones, and it drops meat that you can use for heals. The heals are not the best. They're pretty on the low end of the heal spectrum. But yes, the bones are definitely for the primal weapons, and you can make, like I said before, a makeshift weapon into a primal weapon if you have the bones to do it. Let's see, is he gonna challenge? Yep. See, he challenges this NPC, and she's got a scar, so now all he has to do is kill her, and it will give him a purple scar for beating the NPC. It is kind of risky to fight the NPCs, because their aim is so oh, that is unfortunate. It looks like he just got third-partied while fighting the NPC. Someone got the drop on him while he was fighting that NPC. Sweaty Sands? Yeah, Sweaty Sands is a pretty good spot. Because you have Coral Castle across from it, which is that like engraved water area over there. You can get max Brit pretty quick. You can also fish a lot over there. You have John Wick's, which is like west of Sweaty Sands, towards like the top of the map, or the left side of the map, where you can upgrade guns if he has the opportunity to. There's a lot of good areas that surround Sweaty, which makes Sweaty a good, viable spot to land. He got a pump shotgun, that's pretty good off the start. Farming the furniture off the rip is also really good because it's instant. You don't have to sit there, you know, wailing on something. It gives you a decent amount of mats. Usually it's between like 7 to 10, depending on how big the object is. which is really, really helpful if you're trying to move fast and loot fast.
So, just for a quick question, and just for like to understand, what would be your rankings for like weapons to have in this situation?
So like off spawn, you would probably want, as he beatboxes. Oh yeah, those are some fat beats. You'd probably want, I'd say, any shotgun is pretty good, but you'd probably want a primal shotgun off the rip. A primal shotgun's gonna be good. And any kind of auto weapon, so any AR, SMG, but the primal shotgun is really, really hard to fight against off spawn, especially if someone doesn't have shields. It just melts like the first 100 HP that you have. It used to be when the season first started, the primal shotgun was beyond broken. Like you literally, that's all people would carry. It would insta kill you, like have no chance. If they got up in your face, it was over. It's not so OP anymore, so it's basically only used in spawn fights. And then after spawn fights, you take a makeshift or a pump shotgun.
Did they take snipers out, or are they just not popular?
No, they took snipers out and they replaced them with bows. He's carrying a bow right now, so he has a makeshift bow, and you can make it into either a mechanical bow or a primal bow. And the thing about that is each bow variant, primal and mechanical, do different things. Mechanical is kind of useless in the sense of you use grenades and you can craft other types of bows. So for grenades, you can make an explosive bow, but there are no grenades in competitive or arena play. So you can't really use the mechanical bow to get like the full benefit. But the primal bow, on the other hand, you can get a stink bow, which is like a gas grenade bow. You shoot it and it does gas damage. You can get a flame bow, which also is really, really great for competitive play too, because if you're fighting someone and you get them weak and they decide they want to build out of a wood box, you just pop one of those bows, you light the whole box on fire. It's really hard for them to get out of it and stay alive, because each part of the birding build is ticking damage, right? So I think it's like 5 damage a tick. So if you have 4 walls, you're ticking for 5 damage 4 times a second while it's burning.
Is that the one that you're talking about right now that you just picked up?
Yes, that is the flame bow. That is really good. It's really good for if you see people fighting and they're using wood. It's phenomenal to use. It just applies pressure so hard on people that are building out of wood. It doesn't do anything against brick or metal though. So in those kind of situations, it's kind of useless. But if you like see somebody fighting and you're often like really far away, you can just apply a lot of pressure far away to people that are using wood to build fight. People like to use the stink bow a lot more than the flame bow, because the stink bow, it goes through builds. It doesn't have a big radius, so it's kind of easy to avoid. But if you're like fighting another team or another player, and your guys are like in boxes, it's kind of hard to avoid when you're fighting somebody. So you gotta really watch out for like the third parties with stink bows.
What are some things that you look out for differently from solos than something like duos or trios?
So in solos, you don't really have to look out for too much, in solos, because it's like you don't really have to worry about yourself. So when you get into the duo and trio range, the things that are different are like landing spots and locations and loot paths. They're really big, because if you have 3 people landing on one building, there's not going to be enough loot for all 3 of you. So like a lot of players I've noticed, and especially like in the pro scene, they land in like a POI, but they land in different parts of the POI. So like For example, with the location he landed at, Sweaty Sands, one of the top pro teams right now, they actually one lands main, which is the very tall, like hotel-looking building, and then one lands to the left of that building to get the bunker chest, and then the other one lands on the dock, and then they converge to the center of the area. And by the time they converge, they're all kitted out, and they can fight as a trio. He just drove by another truck. Good thing he's in a Lambo. That truck's not gonna be able to catch up to him. He's doing a pretty good job about staying in center. He could risk it and go for this package, because there's a chance that he could get a spaz shotgun or, a scar or maybe a purple or gold primal AR. The worst case scenario is he could open that and get a gold or purple primal shotgun, because you do not want to fight people with primals unless it's off spawn. And there's some builds in this area, so it looks like people were here. And he got 2 bones from that, because the NPCs gave him things. This is actually, people kind of sleep on this tactic about using these NPCs to like take disguises, but it's actually kind of funny because there's no way, like, unless you're a player that literally plays this game 24/7 and knows like every little detail about the game, most people actually don't notice you. So you can make it pretty far into games.
It's gonna benefit him a lot more or he wasn't like near the center of the circle, but
the only disadvantage about being that, like, if it gets in the car, it'll disappear. But the only other disadvantage about having that on is, say someone pushes you, there is a stun effect that happens when you come out of the costume. So you can't shoot for like a solid like second and a half. So it kind of, if a player gets a drop on you and they know you're hiding in a prop, it's kind of not the best, an ideal situation. But if they don't notice you, it's really funny. You can get away with a lot of stuff. Okay, so where it says bounty started, you were being targeted. Basically, someone talked to an NPC, or along the, like, inside of the map, there's random like billboards that you can go up and talk to, and it places a bounty on a target. And if you kill that bounty in the allotted time, you get gold for it. The only problem is that someone put a bounty on him, so whoever did that knows exactly where he's at. But the circle's pretty big, so it gives you kind of a general idea of where the player is. But as the time starts to tick down and you have less time to finish the objective, the circle gets smaller and it'll get to the point where it shows exactly where the player is. So I'd be a little worried right now, because if that player is looking for a fight, he's gonna know where he is, or like the general area where he's at.
Is there anything he should be looking out for, since the circle is looking to finish around the middle, right center of the map?
So right now, the positioning where he's at, there's a lot of hills in center of in that circle. So like his best option here. Oh, there's a player on him. That is a smart move, because the problem about the situation he was in right there. Oh no, they shot out the tires. This is when the Lambo is a pretty bad vehicle. That was a smart move, because if he stayed at that gas station, the player could have shot the gas and blew up the gas, and it would have done about 150 damage to him from those gas barrels. So that is a good play on his part. But he wants to open the map and kind of check to find like the highest point that is closer to center circle, because having height on somebody is really good, because when they try to push up the hill towards you, you can just, rain down on them, and it really makes people not want to push. The only downside to hiding in these things and like the spots that you can hide is if you listen closely, it makes audio cues. So if someone runs by, they'll hear that. That's the only downside to hiding in things like that. Something else he would want to do too is when you are trying to get into these center zones with this new season, you want to avoid the wildlife at all costs, because if you get seen by a pack of wolves or raptors, it's pretty hard, because they will chase you until they're dead. They won't stop. They'll keep going. So like if you aggro some raptors, you have to kill them. You can't just let them not, die, because they will chase you, and as soon as you get in a fight, they will just sit there and they will chomp at your builds, and they will knock you out from, being like that. Or if you're in a box and they get through your box, they're just like insta hitting you, and they hit for like 60 or 70 damage. So they hit really hard. So I've seen a lot of players die from the raptors.
Man, that's brutal. Getting aggro from not only just PvP, but PvE even harder.
Yep. The boars, like he just ran past a boar. A boar is not too much of a worry. Boars aren't a problem, because you can pretty much instantly kill the boars. The raptors, though, are very, very tanky. It takes a solid probably like 20 to 30 seconds to kill 2 of them. And that chirp sound that you just heard, that's the raptors. So hopefully he does not run into... Oh, he's getting in an engagement. The person shot a bow at him at first. Something he doesn't have to worry about in this, too, is there is a mechanic called Storm Surge. So a lot of these players are probably doing this to practice for Storm Surge. And basically what happens is, if there's a certain amount of people alive in each zone, they have like a predetermined number for each zone. They'll take damage unless they get above the damage threshold. So in this, he doesn't really got to worry about it, because there's not a lot of players, but this person is pushing very hard on him, and he has high ground. So he's going to want to swap to hard mats and build out of hard mats instead of wood, because it makes it easier for this player to get an advantage on him. That's good, though. He went out of box. Unfortunately, he couldn't seal the deal right there. Oh, these raptors are on this player now.
Pretty good accuracy, at least.